Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are so delighted that you're part of our Reading with Your Kids family. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Luminary, or wherever you find your podcast. We have a wonderful guest for you today. Her name is Jay de la Vega, and she's here to talk about her debut middle grade novel, Peter and the City of Monsters. Speaking of monsters, we would love to invite you to join us for a monstrously good time at the Chicago Toy and Game Fair. You can come and experience the latest and greatest toys along with our Reading with Your Kids totally interactive booth at the annual Chicago Toy and Game Fair on November 23rd from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and November 24th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Navy Pier. Now check this out. This is really exciting. Listeners of the Reading with Your Kids podcast can get a $3 discount on all of the tickets that you buy. That's right. At the 17th annual two-day fair, kids can play with life-size toys and games from around the world, meet inventors, authors, characters, enjoy totally interactive stage shows, and more in this immersive hands-on event. And like we said, you can save $3 at the toy event this year. All you need to do is to go to shytag.com, CHITAG.com for tickets and enter the promotional code RWYK. That's Reading with Your Kids, RWYK. At shytag.com, you save $3 on every ticket you can buy. You can buy tickets for your whole family, the whole neighborhood. You save $3 on each ticket. That's the Chicago Toy and Game Fair, November 23rd and 24th on Navy Pier. Joining us right now from Southern California. I'm so very excited. I just met the beauty of social media. I just met our guest just the other day and invited her on the show to talk about her middle grade novel, Peter and the City of Monsters. Please welcome to the show, Jay de la Vega. Jay, how are you?
Well, thank you. I am super excited to be on the show with you today.
I'm really, really happy to have you on the show. And we're talking, right before we started the interview, we're talking about how, you know, you wrote this as a middle grade book, but you're really amazed at how many older kids and adults tell you that they love the book. And I think that's one of the things that I love most. Middle grade books are really, really awesome.
Yeah. And essentially that was my goal with this book. I wanted it to be something that could grow with the reader. You know, you can read something when you're in fourth grade and then read it again when you're in seventh grade and get a completely different story out of it. So I'm excited that people are relating to it and it's doing well with all ages because that means I really hit the spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that I love about this Reading with Your Kids concept. And one of the things that I really encourage folks to embrace is that when when your kid starts reading, that's not the time to stop reading with them. That's, the time to really dig in and you can read together or co-read on a much different level. And like you said, that, when a fourth grader reads Peter and the City of Monsters and then goes back and reads it as a seventh grader, they're going to have a completely different perspective on it. And how much fun can a family have sitting down and just sharing, the fourth grader, this is what I got out of this book. And then the parents can say, well, this is where I came from. And it can just be the launching point to some fantastic conversations.
Absolutely. And I read with my son. He's 13. Mm-hmm. We'll get two of each book. And we'll have conversations and seeing his perspective on a particular book. Sometimes it's something that I didn't catch on myself because I'm an adult and, sometimes your brain kind of shuts down. You don't have quite the imagination as you did when you were a child. So it's really great to share the same story but get two different perspectives on it.
Do you ever, when you have those conversations about the books that you're reading with your 13-year-old, does it, In addition to getting a glimpse into how he's perceiving the book, does it also give you a glimpse into what's going on in his life?
Oh, absolutely. Having these discussions, I'm able to see where he's seeing the world from, what it looks like to him right now. And that helps us open up bigger conversations that maybe I haven't thought we should have yet. So I really like reading with him. It really gives us a connection.
Yeah. I have to ask, has it opened up, any conversations that like, I really don't want to have this conversation right now. You're still a little bit young. I want to wait, but if you're ready for it, we'll have it.
My son and I, we've always had a very close relationship. And one thing I always try to establish with him is no matter what the question, I'm never going to lie to you. I'll always be as honest as I think you can handle. So in doing so, I feel like we don't need to have those conversations where I feel uncomfortable because he feels open about talking about everything with me.
That's fantastic. And, I just noticed something. We've had this fantastic conversation right now for 4 or 5 minutes, and I haven't even asked you to tell us what Jay and the City of Monsters is all about. Excuse me, what Peter and the City of Monsters is all about. Tell us about your book.
Okay. Well, the book centers on Peter, who's a little boy who's experiencing the divorce of his parents. And when you start reading the book, it feels like that's what the book is going to be about, and his reaction, which isn't very good because he meets a monster named Quip and he decides to run away with him to the monster world. But once they get to the monster world, you start to see other themes of privilege, ableism, classism, and prejudice. And these are all sensitive topics that Peter and Quip have to navigate together while dealing with their own issues. And there's just a slew of adventure along the way. Pirates and a president who has banned humans from the monster world. So they're just trying to get through the day.
It sounds like art is imitating life in some ways.
It really is. I initially wrote this for my son. It wasn't supposed to be a novel. It was supposed to be a Christmas gift. And he encouraged me to get it published. So I decided to self-publish on my own. And I wanted to create characters that were relatable to him and were heroes that weren't perfect. They showed you their flaws. They showed you their sadness and their pain, but they weren't anti-heroes. They were just children trying to get through the day and trying to do the best they can in a not so ideal situation.
Why did you think it was important to show the human side of your heroes and show that they have flaws and imperfections?
I love fantasy and I love adventure, and I think it's a great escape. But I also think that children have a lot to offer. They have a lot of point of views that sometimes we don't take seriously. And by creating a world that is relatable, children are able to say, hey, these were the words that I was trying to say. This is the situation that I was trying to describe. So I wanted to create an element of fantasy to escape, but I also wanted to create a real world that made them stop and think and question, am I contributing to the problem or am I creating answers? How can I create better answers?
You remind me of something that a lot of adults forget is, out of, the expression out of the mouths of babes. They're 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds. I have a 15-year-old that's very important in my life right now. And there are often times that she shares with me insights that just totally blow me away.
Absolutely. Kids see things a lot more simpler. They don't have all the complicated noise that adults tend to have. So they're able to look at situations clearly for what it is And I think that they should be given an opportunity to speak up, but sometimes they just don't have the words. And that was definitely the idea behind the book, is giving the words to a very complicated situation and being able to say, this is how I feel. This is what I need to do, and making those feelings and those emotions okay.
I have to tell you, we have a lot of authors come in here and they share all sorts of, inspirations. Where did the inspiration for this story come from? And they talk about, well, I had a dream, or I was telling my kids a story one night, before bed. This is the first time someone's come on to say, well, I wrote this story as a Christmas gift for my child.
Yeah. I was working at this big box store, and I didn't get to spend as much time as I wanted to with my kids. And he was going to school, so we were barely missing each other. And I knew these conversations had to be had. There just wasn't any time. So instead of eating my lunch on my lunch break, I used to just scribble down pages and pages of notes, and eventually those notes became chapters. And I wanted him to be seen. I wanted to make sure I was doing enough to know that I see you, I hear you, and I acknowledge how you're feeling.
Those words that you used, I see you, I hear you, those are some words that one of our past guests, it was so important in his book, The Crabapple Tree. And that book was about his own story of growing up as a gay young boy, and the fact that when he finally heard his creator say to him, "I see you, I hear you," it changed his life. Why do you think it was so important for you to know that your son heard you, or for your son to know that you heard him and that you see him?
I think at the end of the day, the one thing that brings us all together is that we all just want to be loved. And in being loved, that is being seen and being heard and acknowledged that you are important. Your thoughts are important. Your feelings are important. And I think nowadays we have a mindset of, well, someone always has it worse than you. And that's absolutely true. But at the same time, there's no shame in feeling whatever emotions you are feeling in that moment, whether it's happiness or hurt. And sometimes we just need to be told it's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel hurt. There's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to make sure that he knew that and he didn't have to put on a brave face for me,
How do you think that it's a beautiful and I think a really important thing for all of us to understand, not only parents, but I think it's important for kids to understand that their peers need to be seen. And we need to let our friends know that we see them and we hear them. It seems that we're living in a time right now where we have all these devices that allow us to see others. And I am using technology to see you right now in California. Unfortunately, my technology is working. You can't see me. But that's actually lucky for you. But it in some ways it seems that all this technology that allows us to see others doesn't really allow us to really see others and to see what you were talking about.
I think sometimes, especially with technology, we put our best face forward because we're afraid of others seeing the flaws within us. And that can be disheartening because you see other people who look so perfect or have this perfect life and you feel less than. But I think that we need to take a step back and just realize sometimes we just put our best face forward and sometimes we can't see the whole picture. So I think it's important for children to reach out and understand that everybody's flawed. It's not just them. It's not just them that's hurting or feeling maybe less than, or everyone is feeling a little bit imperfect, you know?
That is one of the things that I advise young parents. And anytime, I have 2 grown kids, and a lot of times younger parents would come to me, oh, your kids are so wonderful, and I really hope that I'm able to raise my kids. And what advice do you have for me? And the one piece of advice I always share with them is let them know that you don't know. If they ask you a question, don't feel the need to know all the answers. Admit that you're not perfect.
And that's definitely something I tell my son and my daughter over and over again, is that I'm human and I am figuring this out right by your side. You did not come with a manual, and I don't always have the answers, but I promise you I will try to find it, whether it's with you or Googling it. I will always try to find the best answer I possibly can. And I think that's one thing that makes our relationship so approachable, is that he knows that I'm always going to be honest and tell him I have no idea. I absolutely have no idea, or this is how I view it. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, it's really important. It builds that bond between you, and as a parent, it takes this huge burden off your shoulders, because it's really hard to be perfect. I don't think anybody's figured it out yet.
Yeah, I definitely, I tell him I'm not perfect. I'm not super mom. I try my best. And if I make a mistake, I try to be sure to apologize to him, which I think that's been lost too, is like just accepting I am wrong. I did wrong. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So,
unfortunately, kids don't have a lot of role models in the media or in public life that are willing to step up and apologize.
Yeah. I think that if we find good, it's always possible to find good. I think sometimes you just have to look a little harder. And I tell my son, bad news is on TV because it's not as profitable as good news. And you can find more good if you just search. Bad news makes news because it's not as often that it happens. So you just got to search a little deeper for the good.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we started talking about early on was the reaction that folks have had, and that you were really pleasantly surprised to find out that folks who are older than that middle grade demographic are really loving Peter and the City of Monsters. What other kind of reviews are you getting what are folks saying about the book?
Well, right now the book is just in pre-order, but it's gone through the hands of lots and lots of beta readers. And those beta readers, which were mainly adults, are passing it on to their children. And their children are texting it to their friends. And it's just been a chain reaction of, wow, this is amazing. I love this. I can't wait to read more. A lot of people are just telling me, like, I can understand Peter. I feel what he feels. And with Quip is basically the balance of Peter. So there's not only the questions there of how are you being better for the world, but it lays the foundation of answers. It doesn't give you all the answers, but it lays the foundation of answers and of conversations that you can have with your children. And I've been really getting that from parents. So I really appreciate it. We really appreciate the good ones.
Yeah, well, that's really, really exciting, and I love that Peter and the City of Monsters are really inspiring conversations between your beta readers and their kids. I think that's probably one of the greatest compliments anyone can give to a book.
Absolutely. It's really exciting that I'm going to adults for obvious reasons to make sure my spelling is correct and making sure that everything sounds right. But the fact that they're passing it on, that is really blowing my mind because it's just a link. So they can easily text it to their kids. And, you know, the fact that they would take the moment to do that, it really makes me happy.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. So I know this is early on and we're in the pre-order stage right now, but I don't think it's too early to ask you, has the writing bug bitten you? Are you planning sequels?
I am planning 2 more books for this series before I move on to a different world. But it's going to be a 3-part series, and hopefully I can get through it. I'm going to participate in NaNoWriMo this year to try to get it out all at once and give it to my editor, who I've been giving a hard time with all my commas.
Well, all writers have those little quirks and things.
Yeah, I'm addicted to commas.
Well, where can folks, I know folks are going to want to know more about Peter and the City of Monsters, and also they're going to want to learn more about J. de la Vega. So where can folks go online to connect with you and to learn more about you?
You can find me on Instagram at J de la Vega Torres, on Twitter at author J de la Vega, and I'm on Facebook too, I think. Yeah, I'm on Facebook. So if you just look up J de la Vega, you can find my page. It will be my face with a big glasses filter.
Awesome.
And no, I was going to say in the banners, Peter and the City of Monsters. So I'm hard to miss.
All right. And Peter and the City of Monsters, available as a pre-order right now on Amazon?
Yes, it is.
That's fantastic. Well, we've had a blast talking about so much, but especially we wanted to remind folks that we were talking about Peter and the City of Monsters with the author J de la Vega. Jay, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be coming to us from Cameroon. Her name is Dawn Doeg, and she will be talking to us about her wonderful book, Melvin Fastidious the Sailor, and so much more. If you are the author of a wonderful children's book, we would love to have you as a guest on Reading with Your Kids podcast. Being a guest gives you an opportunity to tell thousands and thousands of people about your fantastic book. And it's fun, and it's easy, and it doesn't cost a thing. It will cost you some time. All you need to do is to go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the contact button. Let us know about your great book. We will let you know the next easy steps. I want to thank the people who made today's show so very wonderful. I want to thank J de la Vega. Be sure to check out Peter and the City of Monsters. I want to thank my amazing producer, Fatima Khan, for all that she does. Don't miss her blog at readingwithyourkids.com. I want to thank Augie the Doggy for watching my back here in the studio. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support that she gives me. And most of all, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking through the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.